It was on a trip to India that Navasoni was the first inspired to come up with a creation to help women in poverty. The 29-year-old engineering student was on a placement in the rural village of Kalabalayam, which had limited access to water and electricity. Every day he would pass his next-door neighbor Divya and see her husband over a pocket scrubbing clothes. I walked past this woman's house every day, and every day she was washing clothes, Nav says. We got chatting, and she told me how her back hurt, and she showed me the rash on her hands. I thought there must be something I could do, and set my mind to find a solution. A modern washing machine was out of the question for Divya, who doesn't have regular electricity, so Nav knew he would have to be creative. He says 70% of the world's population doesn't have access to an electric washing machine. I realized if I could make low-cost washing machine for Divya, which she could operate by turning a crank, it would save so much of her time. That's time she could spend pursuing an education or paid work. Divya became a good friend of Nav while he was in the village, and she was over the moon when he told her his plan. Her eyes lit up. He says she loved it. Watching the mom of two struggling reminded Nav of his own childhood, growing up in London. Nav's dad, Avtar, died suddenly from heart failure when Nav was 8. Leaving his mom Mohini, now 68, to care for 3 young children. I remember mom toiling away all the day, he recalls. As soon as she came from her job in the civil service, there was cooking, cleaning, laundry to do. My siblings and I would try to help out around the house, but we were only young. Nav had always had an inquisitive mind, and growing up, he would take kitchen appliances apart and try to put them back together again. Dad was an engineer too. He had encouraged me to figure out how things worked. He remembers it would drive mom nuts, but I was fascinated by the mechanics behind the gadgets. Nav went on to study engineering at Queen Mary University of London, and later joined Engineers Without Borders in UK, which encourages people to find solutions to the hardships of people all around the world. It was through Engineers Without Borders that he met Divya and came up with the idea of building the hand crank washing machine. He formed a team of specialists and put his head together with fellow engineers, anthropologists and data scientists, and they created a prototype. The prototype was then trialed at Response Innovation Lab in Iraq, led by Oxfam, which provides funding for new innovation that improve poor people's life. In 2019, as a part of his research for the washing machine, Nav visited Iraq and met families living in camps in Iraqi Kurdistan in the north of the country. People have been through so much hardships, he says. I sat with families in their tents, and often there was a father or a brother or an uncle missing, taken away by the ISIS and never seen again. Nav spent time learning what families' needs were, and carried out a research which showed that women were spent as long as 20 hours a week washing clothes. The average size of a family in a camp is 9, with half being under the age of 5, so lots of dirty clothes, lots of washing to be done. We took this all into account. People want drums with a bigger capacity, and they didn't want to bend down. They didn't want interaction with soap, because it caused rash. They wanted it to be light and portable. We incorporated all that into our design. Nav and his team created a washing machine from wood and plastic, costing just £24. The machine, which Nav named after Divya, has a drum capacity of 5 kilograms, but only uses 10 liters of water per cycle, as opposed to the 30 liters used by the average electric washing machine. He believed that using the washing machine, women could wash the same amount of clothes in 20 minutes instead of 20 hours. Can you imagine if you gave back 20 hours to Divya, what she could do with her time? She could have the power to do whatever she wants, he says. In February, 50 washing machines were distributed by Oxfam to the refugee camps in Mosul as a pilot project. I think the burden placed on the woman is so unfair. So seeing that firsthand at home with mom, and then trying to be able to equalize that in some way is something I'm really passionate about. My mother is really proud of me. She is my biggest supporter. She is what drives me. I see her struggles in the other woman's struggles. And Nav's dad, who was an engineer, would have been proud too. During the partition of India in 1947, he became a refugee after fleeing his home with nothing but the clothes on his back. It's up to us to help people along the journey, and the refugee that I have met in Iraq had it the worst. Unimaginable things have happened to them. Things that are really hard to fathom. Becoming a refugee can happen to everyone, he says. We are but on this planet for a very short time of period, and our impact on the others' lives is what matters the most. It's up to everyone around the world to help.